I'm Scott Goldman, and this is the Grammy Museum's Programs at Home. Our guest today might just be the most hyphenated artist in all of entertainment. A global pop star, actor, executive producer of documentaries, films, and television shows, philanthropist, mental health advocate, founder of a line of beauty products, and most recently, host of a cooking show. She's here today following the release earlier this year of her #1 album, Rare, as well as the debuts of multiple music, film, and television projects. Selena Gomez, thank you so much for being with us.
Of course, thank you for that wild introduction.
Well,
I think it's all, people are like, what did she do?
I think it's all true though, which is remarkable in and of itself. And usually, these days, I seem to start all of these interviews by talking about quarantine, but it strikes me you're busier than you've ever been.
In a weird way, I am, but it's also super frustrating because I like to leave my work and go home, and so it's been really a big challenge for me creatively to, do anything over Zoom. I've been in my studio a lot here, and it's just almost impossible because I love to feed off people's energy, and I love the whole idea of creating something in a room together. It just doesn't work for me, so I just try my best. And I definitely have stuff that's going on that keeps my mind busy, but I definitely miss it.
Yeah, I hear from people, whether they're creative types or business people, whatever it might be, that the whole idea of working out of your house, you never get away from it. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of more in it than you've ever been, but you can't, kind of step away.
Exactly.
It's a very strange time. Is this an opportunity for you? You said you've been in your studio to dive in on music? Yeah,
actually, it's been really fun with what we do have. I've noticed that the direction the music has been going lately is very, very, I don't know, there's just a lot of truth and it's not overcomplicated. I think being a pop star can be really misleading. I think that there are some cases where people may not take that seriously. And sure, I understand, but pop and the people who have really showed up for this category is unbelievable, remarkable, new talent, and that's exciting. So I think that it is going to continue to happen, and I'm pretty sure with certain rules we can, go back, but I don't think we are ready just yet.
Yeah, I think it's a little soon. Well, let's talk about this album, Rare. And the lead single, Lose You to Love Me, which is your first #1 single. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I understand that Phineas helped you produce that song. As it happens, I'm talking to him tomorrow, so if there's anything you want me to tell him,
he's a genius.
Okay, I'll tell him you said that. Why did that collaboration work so well?
It actually seamlessly happened. It was just, me, Justin, and Julia, and we were working on it together. And then, towards the end, it was actually perfect because we knew we needed something, and we decided to ask Finn, and it was perfect. He added all of the moodiness, all of the vibrant energy towards the end. He's just super talented. And I think that I will definitely work with him more in the future. Just because he has that, and I think we do have similar tones as far as it goes.
Well, describe that. What's the similarity there?
Well, for me, I'm very emotional, so I tend to want to make my songs a tad bit dark. Usually I feel like there's going to be a special album for all of those types of songs because I do love that space, and I think that there is something that's missing. I feel like Taylor did such a cool job with that. she was so great at being able to transform into one era into another, and she's always been so gifted in doing that. And I think maybe that's inspired me also to be okay with being confident in the direction I want to go in and not stay so much in this comfortable area.
Yeah. You know, Lose You to Love Me, among many songs on the album, there's a real vulnerability about kind of the lyrical content. There's even a song called Vulnerable. Why be so transparent, if you will, in your music?
I mean, when you listen to all the great music and musicians from all time, that's what they talk about. They really pour their heart out, you know, and I think that I miss that. I don't miss just bopping along to a beat and not caring at all what's being said. And that's so easy to do, but there is just something so unique about a song that is just completely honest. And I mean, I was hesitating on putting that one out, but the whole idea of this album was, okay, there is no chains holding me back. I'm going to try this, you know. And there was still, you know, after the album was out, I was like, oh, okay, so I definitely could have, you know, there were still things that I was nitpicking, but it was okay. You know, I felt very comfortable with sharing that with my audience, just because I think I've spent years having people dictate my life on its own. And I feel like my reputation, and as far as my music and as far as everything that I'm a part of, couldn't be more personal, couldn't be more authentic. I try to be very honest. I mean, there's no reason not to be if everyone else has something to say about it.
You know, you mentioned Julia Michaels and Justin Tranter a moment ago. And they're among a number of different songwriters that you worked with on the album. But those two in particular, I've spoken to both of them over the years. The conversations that they have with their collaborators are the foundation of their creative process. So I'm wondering what were the conversations like in writing the songs for this record?
I think when I met Justin and Julia, which maybe about 5-6 years ago, and I think that it's in the beginning, it was very hard for me to talk about it because I was conditioned to not speak about private things and to not make my life into that kind of story. Inevitably, whatever happened, and they have been there since the beginning of the end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these people, specifically, I just talk, and that is usually where it comes from. I'll say something that I wrote down, or just start with something as simple as a line, and then we'll talk about that. You know, like if I write something that has nothing to do with anything, but then somehow it'll turn into a message that we're going to say. And all the other writers that I've worked with, I actually have worked with before, some of them not, but so they get the idea. I don't know what it is between Justin and Julia that pulls out this side of me. And I know it's because it's all of the talent coming together, of course, but I knew that this was going to be safe with these people who know my life, like everything in my life. And they're a part of my life, you know, every day they're knowing what's going on. And so when we get together, it's magic. And the same thing for every other session. It's just, I could tell I have like a goal that I'm trying to do with that. And when I'm with Julia and Justin, there never really is.
Yeah, you know, talking about these songs, there's obviously this sort of kind of confessional aspect to it, but the music, there's energy, there's kind of a dance floor vibe about some of these tracks. As a songwriter, do you look for that tension where the lyrical content may be somewhat dark, but the music is, at a different end of the spectrum?
I think there's room for both, but I definitely feel like with this next album, not the one that I'm going to work on, but with the last album, at the end of the day, I'm trying not to steer off this path I've created so far. And I feel like it's important for the music to feel just as good as what the words are. Even the words are vulnerable. It's like no matter what you do to kind of break into this exterior, it's like, I'm going to stay who I am. You know, you get your heart broken or you walk through these things and you just close up instantly. And in reality, there's a lot of freedom in knowing the truth and a lot of freedom in being okay with talking about it. So I think, yeah, that's as honest as I wanted to get for this album, especially Lose You to Love Me.
Yeah. You know, we've been talking about songwriting, but I'm interested in, you know, kind of your process in the studio. Do you like to experiment, you know, with sounds or the way your voice sounds? Is that something you dig in on?
Definitely. Again, it's so much fun to, you know, work with people who can like come up with these quick little beats, but we do that all the time. Actually, we did it for the Kid Cudi song. We basically just wrote the track, and it was all these different melodies that I've never really used before, but he was an inspiration behind me wanting to create one of the records, and it actually was towards the very end. So it worked out perfectly because that was very different for me. And it was just such a good feeling to like step into his world a bit. So that was exciting. And I think that's the different stuff is going to come later.
Yeah. Do you like to work quickly, or will you labor over a track?
It depends. Like sometimes I will push and push and push and insist. And then other times I'm like, this isn't working. Like we have to completely scrap it, which has happened before. Yeah, I think it is. And you just have a feeling about it.
Do you think, you know, this album in particular is reaching a different audience for you? What kind of feedback have you been getting?
It's been wonderful. I don't feel like, you know, I feel like everything that we wrote about are pretty relative. You know, I think that doesn't really matter what you're walking through or who it is. It's something that's a part of our life. It's something that is going to happen. So I got, you know, even as soon as the album came out, like I was meeting people and they were these adults, and like a woman going through a divorce or a girl just in her late 20s and stuff like that. And they were coming up to me, and I noticed a lot of them were like, this feels so weird, you know, I get the same fucking thing, you know, it's like you're young and you're like Disney and stuff. And I just looked at her and smiled because I get that a lot. And she was just like, but I want to tell you that song really, really helped me. And then hearing that from these type of women, it's like I'm finally considered one of them. You know, I definitely am young. I act very young, but I'm 28, and I can say that I've been through some traumatic experiences. And that was one of the coolest feelings I've ever gotten, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I assume, and I could be wrong, that it is an ongoing challenge for someone in your position who started so young, and there's an opinion formed about who you are as an artist when you are so young. Evolution becomes challenging.
Definitely. And so there's a part of me that maybe wishes I would have waited a bit more, simply on the fact of the knowledge I had gained. Music and acting, it's like it was my first job. I was on Barney. So it's like I'm dancing and I'm singing and I'm doing all this stuff. So I'd have to say it was the best training. And so when I started music, it was just because I was so eager to, and I couldn't wait. But a lot of that was under a certain label, and you know, there wasn't that much control involved, and played the whole LA game, or it was, you know, we had to get out of that, but it was fine. I feel like there were a few songs like Who Says and Naturally that were like in the beginning days that I remember very fondly. But yeah, it is really frustrating, but I think that's why I continue to do what I do. You know, I'm waiting for, not even necessarily waiting for people, but waiting for me to have that moment where it shifts. where people, you know, and I think it's getting there, where people hopefully are respecting it in a totally different way. And obviously I have the greatest fans in the world. They work for me because they're just so happy, and they just really support me. And that's really, really helpful. So it does get frustrating, but now I look at it as a challenge. So as far as anything else, I definitely will always just want to keep gaining that. And so I don't doubt that I will, but I do know that it'll take time.
Well, and one of the things that certainly you have been doing, you know, beyond the music, is your work in producing documentaries and in film and television. You produced the docuseries Living Undocumented. You also re-released some of your songs in Spanish. Why were these things important to you?
I think it's important to remind other people that there's so much going on, you know, and why do I think it's important? Is that what you said? To
you. Why is it important to you?
I'm going to start with the Spanish. I think for me, it is, especially after doing Living Undocumented, finding the story behind my ancestors and whatnot, and knowing that I was basically just a generation off of not being an American citizen. So I feel like that was something that I needed to do based on just the fact that I could, and that I've never taken a stance. And I think that this was the first time that I actually did something. And the only reason for that is because I then led my entire Instagram with people who have experienced it firsthand. They took over everything, and I learned so much, and it was really incredible. So I feel like there's so many different things that I want to help, I want to expose and be a part of. So not in a negative way, I just think that conversation should be open. And so I do think it connects to everything else in your body. You know, I mean, music is, for me, like, I can feel any type of way the moment I hear something, you know.
And you were talking about giving over your social media to you know, a lot of activists, people involved with Black Lives Matter. What did you, in that process, what did you learn about yourself? You said you learned about what these people are doing. I'm wondering what you learned about yourself.
Maybe that I took it for granted. And I'm not that kind of person, but maybe that's what it is. You know, I not only am I half Mexican, it's that, but I'm also on top of living a very privileged life. And so I think, if anything, it showed me I've worked very hard to get to where I am. It hasn't been given to me in any way, but I just felt like it really made me sick. And I found that it just tore me apart in the right way, where I was just like, I don't want to do a photo shoot. I don't want to do anything unless there is diversity in it. Because I just didn't realize the holes that were in it. You know, I'm in music. To me, it's like everybody's just doing it, being in it. It's everything. And so to hear all of the other side, which I'm not, you know, an idiot. I was fully aware of. I have friends that have experienced terrible things. It was just a whole it's a whole other thing that we woken up, and it's changed a lot of people, and I know that it's done a lot for the families.
Yeah. Switching gears for a minute, I want to talk about acting. I'm extremely intrigued by Only Murders in the Building. First of all, you're working with two of my personal like favorites, Steve Martin, Martin Short. It doesn't get better than that. Tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit. Kind of give me the storyline and how you got involved.
Okay, so basically, Steve Martin and Marty actually worked on the script, and the whole idea of Murders in the Building, without giving too much away, it's basically like a comedy dramedy where we're trying to figure out this murder. And it's unlikely group of people that get together. So it's like us three that we all are trying to do this thing together. It is so hilarious. I don't know how I'm going to get any work done because they are so funny and quick and go back and forth. So I'm very excited. You know, I've had the cool opportunity, which is what I try to do in music as well, is that I could be in the smallest part of a movie, but if I'm surrounded by some of the greatest people, I feel so lucky. You know, it's actually something, you know, from Paul Rudd to Ethan Hawke, Billy Crudup, Bill Murray, now Steve, Marty. It's like I really got to work with these actors that have been around for so long, and they treat me like I'm the little sister. And you know, half of them don't even know who I am, which is even great. Bill Murray was like, I have no idea who you are. He's like, and he would just call me Gomez. He'd be like, "Go Gomez." So it's so great to have these people to, you know, walk through all of this with. So yeah, I can't give too much away, but I do know that it's pretty fucking funny.
Has it started filming or
No,
not
it'll
yet?
start in November.
Got it. Daunting for you to kind of walk on a set with Steve Martin and Martin Short?
Yes and no, because I love acting so much. And I feel like you can just, you know, like people who play video games or anything, it's an escape. And so for me, it's almost like a new challenge. I love to push the limits and boundaries in acting. I think that that's something I love about it. It's something I would want to do more of. But this will be like the first kind of thing I'm stepping into. So I'm really excited.
Yeah. And as if all of this isn't enough, you're the executive producer on a new film, The Broken Hearts Gallery.
Yes.
Tell me about the director, Natalie Krinsky, and why you're excited about her work.
The reason we were super excited is because not only would we wanted a female director, but we wanted to have someone that was really in tune with the main character. And we got to introduce, you know, who is one of the sweetest actresses, and she's just lovely. And I think we started on that, I'm not kidding, about 3 years ago. So to be honest, it seems like it's so long ago, but you know, we had to take precautions and make sure it worked well. But it is such an endearing movie, and it's something that I hope people, it's like a romantic comedy. So it's like I want people to feel good when they watch it. It was really fun to do with my mom because we got to work on it together. And yeah, I think I'm pretty stoked with how that's come out, and we'll see that soon.
Yeah. You know, everything that we've been talking about, whether it's the music, songwriting, producing documentaries, acting, all of these disciplines require collaboration and the ability to collaborate. What makes you a good collaborator?
I work better with people, and I think it's just because of how I grew up. You know, I started acting when I was 7, and sometimes the painful part of music is when you are all on your own, because I tend to get very, I'm not okay when it's all about me. It starts to feel very like, don't touch me, don't do this, don't ask me for anything. Like I get very weird and uncomfortable. And so I'm sorry, what was the question? Because I know I had
What makes you a good collaborator?
Oh, okay. So I think for me, being able to step into something and accepting the challenge has been so rewarding. And I like people. I always say in film, you're nothing without the director. You're nothing without a co-star, without a writer, without lighting, without producing, it's this big family. And I find that acting creates that family. To where sometimes in music, your family is all in the studio. You are all there together and you're so happy. But then the rest is all you. And that can be a bit exhausting. And I don't handle that stuff very well because it's just not my type, and it makes me feel like I'm snooty. Pardon me, but that's just how I feel. So I need people. I need people in my life to inspire me, to challenge me, to talk to. I mean, it's what applies to everything that I do.
So we're running down on time. I've got one more question for you. In this conversation, we've talked about music, acting, producing, advocacy. I know that you're involved with this voting project with iHeartMedia, philanthropy. Is there one thing that takes precedence over everything else? One thing you wouldn't give up?
People. I really don't. I wouldn't have aspired to be and continue to be anything if it weren't for people. And that's not a bullshit answer. It's because it's the truth. What are we all doing here? We are all people wanting to talk about other things, other events, music, art. Like, that all goes into play. Like, all of us would not be able to do what we do if we didn't have connections. And I think that's something that is crucial. I wouldn't be able to do all of the things that I'm working on without my team and without people. I want to say that about everything. I want to say that about music and film and producing. It just works together. You know, if I come up with an idea on my own, I'm not just gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna want to ask my people their opinion, and maybe they give me advice for something, and I appreciate that a lot. So yeah. That's the biggest, and then that kind of ties in. So that ties in everything. It's the mental health, it's being an activist, it's standing up for what I believe is important. And same thing with voting. I'm sorry, I'm rambling just because this really upsets me. But there's a statistic online, and it said that my generation and a bit younger have shown less interest in voting than ever before. And that, it infuriates me, because it's like, we are the change. Like, we actually, all that here are going to be what makes all that. And yep. So I care about everything I put my name on, and it comes from an authentic place. So I would say we need people.
Yeah. Well, and kudos to you, particularly on the voting project, because it's more, you know, from a cranky old guy, it's super important now more than ever. The album is called Rare. We could not be more grateful that you took the time today, Selena Gomez. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's so nice actually talking to you, because I know you.
I'm glad. It was fun.
Okay. Bye. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.